Welcome to the Help I Have a Narcissist in My Life podcast. I'm Laurel Slade Wagoner, and I'm here with my good friend, Dr. David E. Clarke,
Don't forget
PhD.
the E. Thank you.
We've done many joint podcasts together because we serve the same audience. We love to help people.
And we don't like anybody else. That's the truth. You pretend like you do, but you really don't.
More than that, we love to help people break free from abusive relationships. And so we, both of us, get a lot of questions, emails, questions from clients. And so we thought it might be fun to do a podcast where we bring in a couple questions that we get asked a lot and talk about them. So not only the people who ask them get the answers, but everybody who's watching can get the answers.
Yeah. I believe that was your idea. It was a tremendous idea.
Yeah. So tell the audience a little bit about what you're doing these days and what you have to offer.
Well, I went from 35 years of saving marriages, non-narc marriages, where there wasn't a narc involved, to now breaking up narc marriages. So it's been quite a switch. Last 8, probably 9 years, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Somewhere in there. Paralleling what Lori does. And so God has just blessed us. Now we're helping these ladies get strong. You don't leave the next day when you realize you have to, of course. You got to get strong, a lot of steps to take. So we're just developing materials to help people escape from the narc, gain freedom, rebuild their lives. So that's what we're doing now.
And you have a ton of books and also a ton of videos.
I do. I am prolific, if nothing else. I am prolific. Yes.
So you're changing from writing a lot of books to offering people books and videos. They can buy video series and
we're going to the ebooks more and more. The blonde, my dear wife, as you know, doesn't like to go to the post office and send these, the paperbacks. I mean, she'll do it with a gun to her head. But we're going more into these ebooks where nothing happens except someone's bought one of my books. Sandy, look, that's great. Is it a paperback? No. Yes. And she high fives me. So, and now these video series, which you're going to do too, I think, right?
Well,
I'm just saying.
We'll talk with Andy. Andy is here with us from Salt Light Media. He's he's taping everything, and he's a big fan of ebooks too.
Oh yeah, that's the way to go. And the younger crowd, that's what they want. You hand them a book, and they think, "What's this?" and they just throw it on the lawn.
Right.
That's what my Nancy would do. So yeah, the video series now are a lot of fun. They see the expressions, and again, it's not you buy it. And then and people want to connect with you. They want to see you and what you're like, and they can see your personality. So yeah, we're having fun with that.
Well, you're doing a good job. And I say one of the things I love about you and your work is you really get people in touch with a righteous anger. So we meet with so many people who are just defeated and in that stage of learned helplessness, and they
paralyzed.
They don't think anyone understands, and so you get them strong. It's
a gift. I get people angry all the time. Even driving here, people were very happy. I'm not really sure why, but yeah, that's my thing.
Yeah. Wow, you do a good job. So.
Well, thanks.
Okay, so what are some questions? What's one question that you get asked a lot?
Okay, let's start with this one, and this will resonate with you, Lori. Am I some poor lady who's lived with the narc for 20 years, 10 years, 35 years? Am I the narcissist, Dr. Clarke?
Yeah.
Okay, simple answer, no.
Right.
Little longer, heck no. The narc has convinced her that she's the narcissist.
Yes,
I haven't had one lady, you probably would agree, not one lady who has asked me that question. I'll say, let's do a phone session or read a book, or I'll talk to you through email, whatever, that ends up being a narcissist. It's never happened.
Yeah.
So it's completely bogus.
Right, because they project it onto the victims. And so that's when am I the one? I feel selfish, so am I the one who's narcissistic? So
right, it's just pitiful. But these guys are, especially the coverts, are masters. If the lady ever has the nerve to bring up a need, well, I'd like, you're selfish. I can't believe you're a narc. Well, it's ridiculous. Of course I have needs. You're my husband.
Yeah.
Or of course, anything is used, personality quirks or mistakes or things from the past, because the person knows you. And the loving husband would never do that. He would never mention those things because he doesn't care.
Right.
But not the narc. It's all cataloged and then crammed down your throat.
So is that the number one question you get?
Just about. I get that a lot.
Yeah.
And it's an easy answer. Of course, they don't believe you when you tell them that.
Yeah.
They've got some work to do. They got to get their mind rewired. They got to figure out that they've been brainwashed. Mm-hmm. And, you get into their history, and you found this to be true, Lori, many times. Their dad was the same way, or their mom, or a previous husband. They're just brainwashed.
Yeah, they are.
So it's not too hard for the narc to convince them.
Well, and then that's where I'll start asking them questions to assess and to show them that they are not narcissistic. So when you hurt somebody's feelings, do you feel bad about it? Oh, yes, I feel terrible. Most of them struggle with an overactive guilt complex.
Right.
So,
It's overkill.
okay, that's
the other
not
way.
a sign of a personality disorder.
Right.
So are you okay with people having different opinions than you? Yeah, of course. I love to talk about different opinions. Okay, that's another sign that you're not narcissistic. So I go through a lot of those questions and help them understand. You think this because it's been projected upon you. And that's what narcissists do.
And anybody who would literally agonize over, am I a narc, is by definition not a narc.
Yeah.
Narcs never agonize over that.
Exactly. Yeah. And you're asking a lot of times on something national like a radio program or the podcast, they're asking, am I the narcissist? Another big sign. They're open to looking, self-reflecting and self-correcting. So no, they're not a narcissist. They're making themselves vulnerable.
Well, some of these, you've had this, and you don't say anything on the air if you're on a national radio show, but these guys will call in, and they're fake. They're probably faking. Am I? I don't know. Am I really? Then yeah. You want to say yes, you are. Hang up, you bozo. Of course, you can't do that.
Right. Deep breaths.
A lot of deep breaths.
Yeah.
Of course, I did say that. Though that's why I'm no longer on any national radio shows. But anyway.
Well, you may be again soon. So
I'm not waiting by the phone.
No. Well.
Of course, nobody uses a phone. That's my problem. I'm the last guy in the world with a landline that I do my phone advice sessions on.
Oh.
You don't do that, do you?
No, I use my cell phone.
Your cell phone? You have to hold it up to your ear, don't you?
No,
or
there's these things called AirPods.
Oh, you're kidding me! AirPods?
Your ears.
Oh,
yes.
come on! You know what? Forget it.
You know what? You said that many years ago about a cell phone, and now you like your cell phone.
And now it rules my life. I hope you're happy.
You said you would not jump into the world of technology, and now you're doing videos.
True.
And have a YouTube channel.
Yeah, well,
so
God told me.
You're
sort of. That's all I had to.
Resistant, but then you welcome the change, and you like it.
I do. I didn't want a credit card machine either. Remember, you forced me into that. Browbeat me until finally.
You only wanted to take checks.
I had to get one.
Yes.
Now it's all done through the website. I don't have to touch it.
Yeah, you don't even look at that.
All right. Well, give me one of yours. That was one of mine.
I would say the number one question I get asked is, can a narcissist change? And so
another easy answer.
Well, right. And so I will say, yes, a narcissist can change because we can do all things through Christ. But will a narcissist change? Absolutely not.
Right.
So by definition, but by a personality disorder, they have that cognitive rigidity, and they are not open to looking at things from a different perspective.
Right. And the nice Christians of this world hate that answer.
Yeah.
Are you saying, Laurel Slade Wagner,
that Jesus can't change him? And
well, of course not. He doesn't want to be changed. He has no intention of changing. He doesn't need to change.
Right. He uses his free will not to change.
Right. He loves what he's doing, torturing someone and being arrogant and getting everything his own way. Why would I leave that life?
Right.
Because I'm not normal.
Because they're addicted to control.
Right.
They can't stand being out of control. So.
But these therapists, and they're on the radio too, and they have their own ministries, who think that a narcissist, a full-blown one, can change. Oh, that's false hope.
Well, and it keeps victims stuck. And this is where you do a good job helping them get unstuck. You have lots of books on codependency and enough is enough, and lots of books that help them get unstuck.
And when Scenes from Traction, your books are awesome too. Awesome. There's nothing like them on the market, I don't think. Especially the one for children. I mean, for parents of children.
Yeah.
Don't let them crazy make your kids crazy.
Yes.
Absolutely sterling. Better than what's a good word? Sterling, magnificent, impressive.
Thank you.
Just trying to get people, because people, how can I train my kid, with the narc? Okay, because unless he dies, which we can always pray for. Right. In a terrible car accident. Single car accident, of course.
Right.
But how am I going to? Well, that's what that book is for.
Yeah.
It should be a 1 million copy seller. It should be.
Well, it's a lot of work, but I say it's worth the work to teach your kids what to do so that the impacts, you can't change a narcissist, and they're not going to stop being narcissistic. So we have to teach our children how to not be impacted as much by their narcissism. So,
and these poor souls, these good-hearted Christian women, they're bright, often professionals. They've tried everything over 10, 15, 20 years. Pastor, counselor. These marriage intensives drive me nuts.
Yep.
These people don't screen anyone. They would let Hitler into a marriage intensive, he and his wife, if he was married.
Well, and a lot of them, you bring up something interesting. A lot of them aren't run by trained professionals. Like the quote marriage retreats. A lot of those retreats, they're more lay people, and so
it's just like, here's my story. That doesn't help me when I'm married to a narc, and they're not screening for narcissism.
No, and the power dynamics. It's just marriage enhancement, which are awesome.
But not for a narc.
Yeah.
Oh, the money that's been wasted on those. So the narc comes in. You know what they're like in the marriage intensive? They went over the entire campground.
Yeah.
The retreat center. The cooks are loving the guy, and it's like he's a dirtball at home. No one listens to her.
Right.
This man is obviously doing fine. Let's talk about you, Mary. And of course, it all goes back on her.
Right. They try to mutualize it. So, okay, you have this work to do, you have this work to do, but they're ignoring the power, the imbalance of power that's happening. And that has to be dealt with first before you can do a marriage plan.
Absolutely. You also hear from Christians a lot, or even regular people, well, it always takes two in a marriage. No, it doesn't. It takes one dirtball narc to ruin everything.
Yeah.
Now, the only truth of that is that the victim who's been a victim has to, of course, change that.
Yeah.
Have enough. Get the heck out.
And she will be doing her work, but the work that she's going to be doing is work that the narcissist is going to be upset about, because what we work with is assertiveness and teaching them how to set boundaries and how to follow through on those boundaries and make sure that your voice is heard and things like that. And so the narcissist will get worse when you start to do that, but then eventually they'll learn to accept.
But isn't it fun when you train a lady, she's getting stronger, she's speaking up, not to change him, that'll never happen, but for her own empowerment, the kids are watching, and she ignores him or mocks him or speaks up briefly. Oh, I love that. And he's having the world's biggest fit. Tough.
And I imagine you feel this way about your audience, but I have the sweetest, nicest, most supportive audience. They will email me and tell me those things and how God has set them free. And there's just nothing like it to see somebody experience freedom where they were living in such a dark place.
Oh, absolutely. It's a wonderful thing. Yep. I love the emails I get. And I'll often respond. And since content is king, as Andy just said, Andy knows everything in this market, it becomes content. Now, it's all anonymous, of course, but I can use parts of emails, giving my responses, and it helps many other people. Yeah. Which I think, and our audience also loves that. Yeah. If I can help someone else, hey, terrific.
That's why we're talking about these questions. So we want to help as many people as possible. So
let's go to the next question.
Okay.
We can talk. We're going to talk for hours here. Andy thinks it's going to be an hour and a half.
You're going to have to tell us to stop.
It's getting dark. Yeah, exactly. Okay. What else do I have? Oh, this is a good one. These are all, of course, for Dr. Clarke, every answer is an easy answer because I'm so black and white. But is divorce, and this is an important one, is divorcing a narc biblical? Do I have a biblical reason to divorce a narc? Absolutely yes.
Yes.
Now, I didn't believe that. Well, probably 8-9 years ago, and then I was able to, through God's leading, change my mind on that. 1 Corinthians 7:15. There it is.
Yes.
In such circumstance. Now, the first part of that verse, as you know, Lori talks about the abandonment by the unbelieving spouse. Okay, that's ironclad. But the second part of it is just missed, and I missed it I went to 2 seminaries, didn't see it.
Yeah.
In such circumstances. Yeah. Just like the first clause, just any other abusive type circumstances, yes, that's a biblical reason.
Right, absolutely. And then what's the other one? I think it's, is it First Peter 5:8 or 1 Timothy 5:8? The older I get, the more I forget the addresses that talk about when they're not providing for their relatives, they're worse than an unbeliever.
Right, that also.
Yeah.
Then we have I love 2 Timothy 3:1-5, where you have a great description of a narcissist. I mean, to the letter.
Yeah.
God has the best definitions. And then the punchline, Paul says, and I love Paul because he's like me, I'm like him, hopefully, just blunt, have nothing to do with them.
Right. There's
Don't go
so
to a
many
counselor.
scriptures that say that.
You talk to your pastor, the Proverbs and the Fools, you're big on that. It's the same thing. Get the heck away from them.
Yeah.
You're wasting your time.
Yeah, I have a whole thing about God says do not. There's so many scriptures that say do not. So
Right. Pretty clear.
Right.
But the church says do. Try that, try this, try the other. And if he still doesn't change and he's destroying you and your kids, gosh, that's just too bad. Now you can suffer for Jesus. Really? These people are idiots.
It's not suffering for good. There's always good that comes out of the suffering when Christ is involved. So if you give them a lot of kindness, then that feeds that entitlement and they're going to get worse.
Yeah,
so
it's enabling.
a behavior that is rewarded is going to be repeated.
Right.
So you want to confront that narcissistic behavior, not enable it.
You're not having it. And you do that, you get empowered. He hates it. He'll up the ante, like you said, but you'll get stronger and stronger. And you need to, because divorcing one is a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's going to be hell on earth. It's been bad enough married to him. But to get through that, you're going to be strong. You're going to make it.
Yes, and I know that all too well. So,
yes, you do.
Yeah, I went through a divorce with someone who's narcissistic twice because I didn't know the difference between being regretful and being repentant. So he said all the right things. He box checked and would go through the motions, and I took him back.
Well, but you got it. And now you're with a gem. A gem, I tell you.
Yes, Tim is wonderful.
Tim is wonderful.
Yes.
He's a great guy. He is. God just works these things out.
Yes, he does.
Absolutely.
So everything that I went through is for good, because I feel so blessed to be able to help people and to say, hey, I understand, and I don't want you to go through what I went through.
Well, it resonates because they know you get it.
Yeah.
Just talking about it, you lived it. Absolutely. Give me one from you.
I would say the next one, I get asked, how can I get that narcissist to change? These people who are stuck in that learned helplessness or that codependent state, they want so desperately for that narcissist to change. What can I say? What can I do to get him to change? And I say, there's nothing. It doesn't matter how many times you say it. If you say it 100 different ways, you can't get a narcissist to change.
No, there's no magic pill, no magic book or program or video. No.
Yeah, so you invite him into a plan of change. You guard your heart, because most likely he won't work the plan of action, but you invite him into a plan of change. And then this is where I use your book, the one about written for the person who sins in the marriage. What's that one?
Oh, I destroyed my marriage.
Yes.
There's too many books.
Right. So you invite him into a plan of change. You say, hey, if you really want to work on yourself and you do your work, here's a great book.
And that's a tough book. If he'd actually do it, of course he won't.
But
it buys
it's
you
a
time.
litmus test, because it shows the codependent that he's not willing to do
and
the work.
And they need to see that. And of course, the kids are watching, and Dad flames out.
Yeah.
He had his shot. Right.
So I call it the Joshua 24:15 plan. So you're inviting him into the plan of change, but he has his free will. So Joshua 24:15 says, if serving the Lord is undesirable to you, you are free to choose what gods you serve, whether it's the gods of your ancestors or the gods of the living land. But as for me and my household, I'm going to serve the Lord. So that you tell your kids what you're doing. You can pray for daddy, but most of the time they're not going to change. If there's a personality disorder, they will not change.
So the person, I tell them, the person who's going to change is you.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a miracle in and of itself, because it's not going to be easy. But yet, forget about him. You'll invite him in, give him a shot. You've already given him 500,000 shots, but nonetheless, we're formulating this because it's your exit plan. You'll have one last chance, and then you'll get strong enough to say, I'm done. And I'm not kidding. And be able to resist the incredible love bombing you're going to get.
Yes.
Which they're masters at.
Yeah, and just letting people know what to expect. I think there's so much power in that.
Yeah.
So helping them pull out of the cycle. Okay, so if you say this is how he's going to respond, and just then they're not so shocked, and they're not knocked down and blindsided by all that narcissistic behavior.
Right. We know what's coming. These narcs go to they're like camps in the woods for narcs, secret camps, and they learn by a campfire how to be a narc, and they're all the same. And so we know what's coming.
Well, and I think our society is breeding a lot more narcissism.
Aren't they? Oh my goodness, yeah.
There's another question I get asked. I don't know if you get asked. Do they believe their own lies?
Yeah, that's another good one. Absolutely, yes.
So yes, sometimes they know better. Like with adultery, they know they're cheating, but they'll just dig their heels in. And even if you have proof, they'll deny. They know better. There's certain cases. Right. Yeah.
You
they
can
know
have
better.
a video of him and the skank.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't make any difference. That's been doctored.
Yeah.
Of course, they always, worst comes to worst, they can always fall back on, well, that's your fault, Missy.
Yeah. Except the blame
ended
shifting.
Up with the skank. Yeah. Right. So.
And then in other cases, they've gotten so good at manipulating that they've become delusional and they actually believe their lies. So they'll justify, like in the case of adultery again, where they'll say, oh, well, it's not really cheating. We've been living as roommates for 5 years. So, and they honestly believe
they do
that they're not cheating. So every case is unique and different. So I don't want to give an answer of yes, they do or no, they don't. There are certain cases they do believe their own lies. In other cases, they're just that manipulative that they're just not going to
but the
be
key
honest.
Is they're still lying. So who cares?
Right. And you still have to set the boundaries regardless of the case.
That's why I don't recommend any of these lie detector tests for a narc.
Yeah.
I don't like them. You don't need them for anybody, but because they will beat the machine.
Yeah.
Because they lie beautifully.
That's another question. Do you get asked that question? How is there a test? Is there a blood test? Is there a test that they can take? So the blood test. No, there's no blood test.
Well, we'll hook him up to it's giving blood, and he just will walk away, and all the blood will drain out, and he will die. Anyway, that's my test I wanted to take.
No.
And these ladies know. We talk on the phone. It doesn't even take 45 minutes, but I do a 45-minute session. I think you do too. And probably longer because you're nice. But anyway, within 10 minutes, 50, yeah. Okay. Ask the questions. Yeah, it's clear. They know it. They just don't want to face it.
Yeah. And
all these markers, are you kidding me?
You can get clinically tested, take some personality disorder tests, but I say we have to go. The Bible talks about a tree is known by its fruit, so we go off of the behavior. So I don't want you seeking that as the answer, a personality test, because they know how to manipulate oftentimes.
Oh, they do. I got a question today. I've had this before. Well, how can you? The narc often asks it, but this lady said, how can you just talk to me? I haven't talked to her on the phone yet. Talk to me and get my point of view and say he's a narcissist and not talk to him. Ma'am, I'm going to believe you. You're not going to be a liar. I've been at this for 40 years. I'm going to figure it out. I will not go near him because he's a dirt ball.
Yeah.
I already know from your email he's a dirt ball, but let's confirm that. But he's going to lie his head off.
Right.
Why would I want to waste my time with him? Oh, well, I think that. Okay, you don't want to talk to me, that's fine. Yeah. But I'm not going near him.
And we assume that our clients are being honest. And so we base our recommendations based on what they're reporting. So we can't, I don't know about, I do know about you. We're both doing audio phone advice sessions. So we don't give diagnosis in our sessions.
No. I will say, yeah, he's a narcissist. The good news is he'll have his opportunity to prove that's different.
Exactly, by doing his work.
Right, he's not going to.
Right.
Ma'am, but let's give him a shot.
Right.
So I'm always punching against the denial, which is really thick.
Yeah, and you pay attention to the behaviors. That's not their words.
Just observe.
Their behaviors.
Yeah. You're going to he's found out with porn, adultery, physical violence. Gosh, he's really sorry. You're going to get 2 weeks or maybe 2 months of love bombing. Yeah. And if you will hold the line and not respond, he'll turn on you like a snake.
That's another question I know both of us get a lot. He says he's sorry. Shouldn't I forgive him? The Bible says to forgive.
Right. No, you don't.
Yeah.
That comes like you're in a war. Did David forgive his enemies when he was battling them? No. You get through the war, get rid of his carcass, and then afterward, then forgiveness will happen. Righteous anger is what you need now. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Forgiveness makes you weak.
and forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. So you can make that Christian choice. Hey, Lord, I'm releasing him to you, but he's yours. But you're not going to reconcile with him until there's months and months and months, sometimes years of repentant behavior.
Right. He'd have to bring that.
Yeah.
The church very often 98% of the time wants the reconciliation, forgiveness. Well, if you forgive, that means you have to give him another chance. That means you have to go back to him.
Yeah.
That's not what it means.
No,
He
it's
has
not.
He has to bring a ton of stuff,
Right.
which he's not going to do.
Well, and we're innocent until proven guilty unless we actually commit a crime, right? Then we are on probation. We have to prove our innocence before the probation is lifted. So we even do that in society. So we don't just pretend like all of that didn't happen. He's got to earn that trust back. And if he doesn't want to earn that trust back, that's a big sign that he is not repentant.
Right. And what you'll get, you've seen this a million times too, Lori. Well, you're not, I'm the narc. You're not, it's been 2 weeks. I said I was sorry. You're not forging me.
Yeah. Nothing's good enough for you.
Fault. Right.
Nothing's good enough for you.
After 20 years of a nightmare existence, you put together 2 weeks and I'm supposed to forgive you.
Right. Are you going to punish me forever? Yeah.
The answer is yes. Yes, I will.
Yeah. You need to look at yourself, like all that stuff.
No, you're going to, I'll forgive you. But as I drive away from the courthouse and we're divorced, there'll be a process. But I wouldn't fool with that.
Yeah. So we get a lot of the same questions.
I think we do.
Do you have any different ones?
Let me see what I got here. Let's look at my list. Oh, well, this is a trauma bond thing. You know, what do I do if I still love the narc?
Yeah.
Even when you know he's awful and you're about to divorce him, or you've been divorced for 2 or 3 years, like a lady I talked to yesterday, I still feel like I love him. I said, you don't love him.
Yeah.
You think you do. It's part of your denial, part of that trauma bond that you have to break.
Yeah.
I can't get him. I think about him all the time. He's remarried. They seem happy. I said, he's going to be a narc.
Yeah.
He's going to treat her bad too. Don't check on it. Who cares? But he's going to be an awful person. And even if he would actually change and treat somebody else good, who cares? She cares.
Yeah, and normalizing that she is trauma bonded. You use that word.
Absolutely.
So a lot of that attachment, it's addictive even at a physical level, at a chemical level. So we have to understand that and then work to emotionally detach.
Right.
So
which is that righteous anger. We got a whole section in this book, Codependent Hell, that I've just finished. Well, actually it came out earlier this year, but really getting them angry. And then breaking that bond, and then part of that is going to be releasing. But if you're not angry, you're not going to get to release.
And getting them in touch with their preciousness, like I'm worth more than how he's treating me.
Right, right.
And it's not that you're not loving him. You're loving him like Christ loves him, which is with boundaries and distance and separation. I mean, it's all over the Bible to use that redemptive tool of separation.
It is. We see Jesus with the money changers. Whoa!
Yeah.
I've not thought. I just thought this right now, but I wonder if any one of them wised up after being tossed out with the Lord of the universe raging. No. Probably not. But I mean, they had their chance. Pharisees, he calls them out to their faces. Oh,
very direct communicator. So there's so much to learn by how Jesus interacted with people.
He didn't suffer any fools,
and he didn't
not
beg. No. He didn't chase people and try to get them to change. He let them have their free will. He confronted openly and directly, and then he moved on and went on about his
He didn't waste any time. That's right. So that's one. What else do you have on your list? Any others?
What about, this one. I don't know if you get some negative feedback. Sometimes I get some negative feedback.
How could you possibly... Are you kidding me? Oh, you wouldn't believe. They're horrible.
I get some negative feedback that we put in our language that the male is the perpetrator and the female is the victim. And so I get a lot of negative feedback, and I don't mean any disrespect. I work with a lot of men who have narcissistic women in their lives.
These shrews are out there. Sure they are.
Narcissistic wife, narcissistic daughter-in-laws.
Different sex. It doesn't make any difference.
Yeah. So I don't mean any bias by it. Right. So we just have to pick, for ease in listening, ease in writing, we have to pick one.
I'm not going to go back and forth. And the truth is, even though many don't want to admit it, if I relied upon men to buy my materials and talk to me, I'd starve. So, hey, there it is. So women are the audience.
Yeah.
But hey, I'll work with guys too.
Yeah.
I'm probably 80-20, if not if not 85-15 with more women that talk to me.
Yeah.
Women are drawn to me. It's not really my fault. It's just one of those things.
Well, and I would say it's probably about 70-30 in my practice, because I work with a lot of older people who have maybe a son who's married to a narcissist, and so I'll have a phone appointment with the couple and help them be able to devise a plan of action for dealing with that. And that brings up another question I get asked: do you tell the narc that he's a narc?
Yeah, and I say don't bother. I mean, really?
No.
He just gives him, everything is ammunition for him. He'll weaponize it.
And like we were talking about at the beginning, what's he going to do? He's going to call you a narcissist.
Absolutely. He'll come right back in your face.
Or he'll just dismiss it.
Or he'll run to the pastor. She called me a narc. He's already got the pastor fooled because the pastor's clueless. Or your friends and family, you don't even.
Yeah. Stick to the behaviors. Right. The tree is known by its fruit. Just prayerfully write out what are the specific behaviors that are harming you, and work on fixing those and getting those dynamics out of the relationship.
Kids, you're not going to call them a narc. You're not going to call them an abuser. You don't need to.
Yeah.
Dad said, Dad did. Bible says this, Bible says that. This is wrong. That's sinful. Yeah, they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
You don't need the labels on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And I would say, like, the last question I get asked a lot is, how do you help somebody who loves a narcissist? Right. What can you do? So
that's a good one. And so what do you say?
Well, I go through some things not to do. So like, you don't should on them. Like, you should just leave him. You work a plan of action. You read some good books about narcissism. You equip them with knowledge about healthy relationships. Those are some things you do. You don't tell them, you don't say negative things about the narcissist to them, because what happens is you mentioned the trauma bond. A lot of them are so trauma bonded that internally they're going to start to feel guilty. And they're going to jump into, well, I didn't mean to really. I don't know if you've had this happen in a session. I'm not being fair. He does a lot of things well. He does this with the kids or that, and
he works for a living. Yeah. He doesn't kick the dog. I mean, they're just desperately trying to find.
Yeah. So I say, even if they're saying bad things, don't jump on that, because then that engulfment of guilt might start to come in. So you have to be very. Listening, very validating of their pain.
It's a process, and then you'll get to the truth. Truth is, they think they're in love with him. It's a trauma bond. They're addicted. They don't get it.
Right.
So you can't come on too strong. No. Too quickly. Right.
So you help them draw their own conclusion, teach them what healthy relationship dynamics are, all that mutual stuff, mutual honesty, mutual effort, mutual concern and respect, and the mutual ability to repent, say sorry, ask for forgiveness, and work a plan of change. Yeah. So you she'll draw her own conclusion that this person, something is not
right. And as you're talking to you, let's say it's your friend or your kid, or a coworker or whatever, they'll tell you things that you can use.
Yeah.
He said this, he said that, and you can point out, that's not a nice person. That he's hurting you.
Right. But if you tell your adult child he's a dirtball, just leave him, that adult child, they're not strong enough yet to do that. So they're put in this bind of, do I choose my parents or do I choose the narcissist? They're going to choose the narcissist because they're trauma bonded.
Right.
So
I've got this project right now I'm working on where there's a whole line of things you do with someone like that to love with a narcissist. And at the end of the line is the Matthew 18, 15 through 17. And you go through those steps and you get to the tough love, and and you force them to choose. And they will choose the narc even then. But you have all this stuff you've done before that can really resonate. That's the first thing out of the box.
Yeah, absolutely.
You'd like to yell, "You're with a narc, don't you get it? What's the matter?" Well, okay, that never works.
Right.
It's never worked in recorded history. So don't. Right. And if you've done that, don't feel too bad. You just take it back and maintain the relationship if you can. I hope they'll see it.
No. So anything you can think of that you want to say to the audience?
Boy, I always have something to say, of course.
You do.
But I think we covered the basics here. Let's give our websites. The websites are key. Let's do that. That's what I want to say. I want to say my website. Is that wrong?
No, I'm sorry. I forgot to mention that. Okay.
I noticed it wasn't on your list. Of course not. Okay. So, and of course you'll give yours. This is your podcast, not mine. You can find, if you want to find me, and who wouldn't want to find me? It's David E. Clarke, PhD, Clarke with an E. David E. and then Clarke with an E on the end of Clarke, davideclarkephd.com. Everything's there that you'd ever want to know. A lot of things you don't want to know are on there.
Yes, you have a lot on your website. So
Chock-full.
we'll keep doing these. So let us know. Let us know what questions and what topics. Like I say on the end of every one of my podcast episodes, this is about the listeners, about the watchers. And so what do you want us to talk about? What do you need us to talk about?
Give us some topics.
What's keeping you stuck? And
as we've discussed, even if no one likes this except for us, who cares? We are enjoying ourselves, and isn't that important?
Right. Well, there's no better feeling than helping somebody and then having co-laborers and doing that. So we have very different styles, but we have the same heart. We have the same heart for helping people get out.
And there's always been a click there, I think. Yeah, we get to the same place.
Yeah. Absolutely. So thank you for coming.
There was the hammer, and then there was the shepherd's, what do you call it? The crook that you're leading. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So we've known each other. We go to the same church home, our families, our
we go
friends.
Back a long way.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we do. So if you're wondering why he's calling me Lori, yes.
Yeah, I don't go with the Laurel. It's far too formal. What are you, the Queen of England? Come on, it's Lori.
So I go by both, Lori or Laurel. So I don't know if my audience ever knows that I go by Lori. So I just didn't want them thinking that you had my name wrong.
Yeah, really. We're so close. I don't even know what her name is.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So thank you for coming.
Well, thanks for having me.